Episode 2. This episode focuses on sources of income in old age. We hope you enjoy listening. Introduction. A pension is a major source of income security for retirees. Pension income ensures some measure of stability in the living standard and the financial capacity of the retiree without necessarily having to depend on family or society for support. While the concept of a living standard relates to the ability to meet basic needs such as food and housing, that of financial capacity relates to the ability to meet health needs as well as cultural demands, some of which are discussed under our way of life. Pension plays a major economic role in the life of retirees. For most of them, it is probably the only source of income. Where pension is the only source of income, there could be, from my experience, and from the experiences of very close friends, difficult money situations to contend with. Some of these situations are discussed in the following paragraphs. Many retirees receive pension under the pay-as-you-go, PAYG, pension scheme which, until recently, was about the only public pension scheme in the world. These retirees have found pension money to be inadequate. Some of them, especially in the United Kingdom, who began their working career as early as the age of 16 and who are on full pension benefits see their pension as existing in name only. Under the circumstances of insufficient pension amount, some pensioners in Britain had to resort to stealing, smuggling, and shoplifting. The number of pensioners jailed increased from 355 in 1990 to 1,138 in 2000. Many of the jailed pensioners had no previous crime record. Indeed, Britain's first prison wing specially adapted for the elderly inmates was established in 2004 to cope with the number of pensioners turning to crime. As we write, poverty among pensioners in the UK, as in many other developed countries of the world, remains a global problem. Many elderly poor have had to sell their homes at critical financial periods. And in Nigeria, we know that as at the 16th of May 2007 there were over 25,000 inmates, or 65% of the total prison population who had never been convicted of any crime. Many of them were elderly people, although we do not know how many pensioners were in the population. Nonetheless, there are reports from the Nigerian Union of Pensioners that some members of the union are involved in begging for vital bread. Because pension money is inadequate, some retirees are unable to pay house rents and they are unable to meet their other personal needs and those of others who still depend on them. Destitution among the elderly is common. And a destitute cannot age gracefully. Resorting to crime is unlawful, begging and destitution are antisocial, both constitute an embarrassment to society. These social malaises have had strong influence on pension reforms worldwide, more so as there is the need to minimize the economic hardship which workers suffer in old age. Investments. Financial investment in money markets or on landed property for retirement income is relatively new in many African countries. There are many reasons for this. Africa is a relatively young continent in terms of political and economic independence. The population of the first generation of the haves is very small. Until recently, both the haves and the have-nots had large family sizes. They also had a large number of dependent relatives outside the nuclear family members to look after. If they had any leftover money, they were probably not aware of investment opportunities, and even then, areas of profitable investment were probably not many. Cooperative and thrift societies existed, in the main, to provide low-interest loans for members to meet their basic needs. Another issue is that the civil service mentality may have inhibited the foresight of workers in terms of investment, and closely related to this is the expectation of adequate severance benefits from governments. The result of all of these is that the vast majority of pensioners have very little income from investment in the money market, or from landed property. However, young as the African continent is, the story is different for a few people in the civil service, the armed forces, for many who are in business or who are in politics, either as members of parliament or as political office holders. Most of them are grossly overpaid, or they enrich themselves corruptly. Sadly, many of these people display, with impunity, great greed amidst great need. Funerals and weddings provide opportunities for frontal assault on morality. The opportunity in politics for personal enrichment is probably the major reason for the desire of many people to remain in office forever by recycling themselves, for, at the end of each cycle, they cart away mouthwatering severance benefits. Post-retirement work. The current trend is that, for a few, income from post-retirement work can be significant. This is more so for people in politics. It is noted that some retirees from university employment are re-employed on salaries and allowances, which are about the same as those they retired on. So, for the few who are on handsome retirement benefits, income from post-retirement work is an additional pot of gold. These few can look forward to economic prosperity in retirement. All they need to do is to take time off to rest and ensure that they take that important decision of choosing which color of the rainbow to slide down on. Family and friends. How much assistance in terms of cash and welfare care did you give to the nuclear and the extended family members in the African culture when you had the opportunity and were able? How much do you expect to receive as entitlement, not out of pity, from these family members if they are in a position to help? There are important issues in discussing income from family members. Some of these are commitment, carrying capacity, sustainability, and sowing what you reap. Usually, members of the nuclear family, spouses, children, show greater commitment to some form of income for the elderly. The carrying capacity of family members and the sustainability of their contribution are important issues. If the elderly have children and these children are able to support themselves, there is hope that they will look after their elderly parents. On the contrary, the elderly who do not have well-to-do children may not receive any income from these children. However, they do receive help in the form of rescues in emergencies, much the same way as will be received by the childless elderly. There are, however, cases of deliberate neglect of the elderly. Let us share an experience. My mother had enough money to send me to school, but she did not. If I have enough money when I grow up, I will not take care of her. Patricia. Patricia represents some children who live with hurt. They believe in the law of reciprocity and therefore deal with hurt by retribution. Another form of hurt which children deal with relates to the perception they have of the way their elderly parents manage family affairs, especially in a polygamous home or where a second marriage is involved. When there are disagreements or disputes, some of the children take sides with either of the parents, to the neglect of the other. In some cases of reaction to perceived hurt, some close family members take sides with the children, thus making reconciliation difficult, if not impossible. And the role which such children play in funeral rites is an issue in itself. Again, in all of these, that expected income from children may not come. Sadly though, the elderly person who is not well looked after while alive receives befitting burial when he dies. Caring is salient, death is loud. A non-befitting burial attracts mockery. Nonetheless, emphasis should be on befitting living rather than on befitting burial. It does not make sense to go from burial to bankruptcy. A copy of the book, Work, Retirement and Graceful Aging, by Dr S O Aikhoje can be found on the author's website drsaimikojeri.com, at Amazon, and through all other major booksellers.